my dad, he was born in the church, and married my mother. She wasn't a member. They ended up having me and my little sister Jessie, and they divorced when I was very little. I was 3 or 2, and then was raised in a divorce home and whatnot. My dad remarried, and I remember the missionaries, about the time I was 8 or 9, started coming over, because my dad must have been in the records, and they would visit us. And I remember when I was about 12 years old, me and my sister we both wanted to be baptized. I remember I had wanted to for a while. I had felt it. I was young, and I remember how I felt whenever the missionaries came over. And I remember this one time, these sister missionaries came over with a lady from the stake, I imagine. But they gave me like the Book of Mormon stories, little cartoons. And I remember I read the whole thing in like that night. And I felt the Spirit really strongly, and I was just super excited. And my dad ended up giving us permission to get baptized, and we got baptized. And for about 5 years, we went alone to church, and had a lot of support from the ward members, which was awesome. That helped a lot. And then after about 5 years or so, my dad got in a second divorce, but that allowed him to rethink his life, and he came back to church. And now, long story short, he was remarried in the temple with my stepmom now, and he's active in the church, and she was a returned missionary from Venezuela. My mom, when I went on a mission, I decided to go on a mission, and I was about 20 when I went on the mission, and my mom came to my farewell with my stepdad, and they weren't members of the church, and they were, she had asked me questions. I remember she had asked me questions, watched me grow up. I lived mostly with my dad, but every time I saw her, every once in a while we would talk about things. For about a year before my mission, I took her out every week to see a movie. We just spent a lot of good times together, and I remember she asked me a lot of questions, but I never, I never had it wasn't like my goal to, help her join the church. I wanted to answer all her questions and help her, and I always invited her to church, but I wasn't in that missionary mode. Like, after coming home from the mission, maybe you know how to do it, how to approach things, and how to teach. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I always answered her questions and talked to her about it. Maybe I was afraid of scaring her away or something, because she was a very spiritual woman, but she was, she had a very, very hard life. And so, long story short, she came to my farewell, and I left, and every Sunday after that, she kept coming to church. And my stepdad came every once in a while, at first because he worked and everything, but she kept coming to church. And she told me one time that she had a lesson about the law of chastity and how God loves his daughters and wants them to, be happy, and wants them to be married, and so my stepdad, before they weren't married, and he had proposed a couple times to her already, and she was just afraid of the commitment. But she came home that Sunday and was like, "Rick, let's get married." And I thought it was a funny story. She felt the Spirit, and she was gaining a testimony. And in the end, when I was on my mission, I ended up moving to Idaho, and my stepdad was baptized after they got married, and now they're both active members of the church. And I was very happy. It was like one of the biggest blessings I received while on the mission, that my family, and my whole family, and my littlest sister, her name is Janie. She wasn't a member. She just got baptized also when I was on my mission. She turned 14. She's the daughter of my dad and my first stepmom, and she had to wait my stepmom wanted her to wait to a certain age before she made the decision to get baptized in that church or another church, because my stepmom was, Christian, but from another church. And anyway, it was just a huge blessing for me that almost all my family now are members of the church and have the gospel in their lives. That was one of the biggest things for me. God blessed me a lot while I was on my mission, and not just in my mission, but my whole family. And so when they tell us that we receive blessings, our families blessed when we're on our missions, it's so true. And sometimes it's in ways we never see, because I've heard of people having tragic things happen on their mission, but God knows what He's doing, and sometimes we don't see all the blessings right away, but they're there. And so that was one of it's kind of my little conversion story, and the conversion story of my family, I guess. I come from a different family, but now everyone is happy because we all have the same gospel in our lives. Even though I come from, my parents are divorced, then remarried, they're both happy, and I'm happy. I'm very happy. So that was, in a nutshell, that's my sister was married when I was on my mission. She got sealed in the temple to my brother-in-law. So that all these things just happened, just all at once. And I will always forever be grateful. I remember every day, that was my prayers, was how grateful I was for blessings that my family had received. So I'll never, still to this day, I'll never stop, because it's huge. My family probably is going to watch this, and they don't know how I feel. I'm sure they assume, but I've never really expressed it like this, because I'm very happy. Oh, and now my mom and my stepdad will get sealed in the temple soon, in a couple months now. So